Hey y'all, welcome back to the channel. In this video, I kind of just want to make this like a big old preview of the Giants this season. I kind of want to go through the depth chart as well as like the schedule and kind of like wins and losses and exactly like what I expect to happen this year. So I mean, this should be a little bit longer than some of my other videos, but it should be a lot of fun as well. Anyway, so let's get right into it. And so yeah, so I'm expecting this to be a good year for the Giants. I'm expecting it to be maybe in terms of like wins and losses and kind of where we go in the playoffs to be pretty similar, but I expect the on-field product to be a lot better. So like I kind of expect us to probably be maybe like a 6 seed, 7 seed kind of wild card in the NFC, and then wild card round to divisional round in the playoffs. But at the same time, like I said, I expect to see Daniel Jones take a step. He has more weapons and stuff like that. The offensive line I think is going to improve. I expect Saquon to have another really good year. And I expect the defense to take another step as well, especially with drafting someone like Deontay Banks. I think it's really going to help the secondary. I think that really gives us two really good cornerbacks, and I think it's really going to help us. I expect Kayvon Thibodeau to take a step as well, so I'm really excited for this season. Anyways, yeah. So let me just get into the depth chart. And first, I'm obviously quarterback. Daniel Jones. We all know his Daniel Jones, but really interested to see what he's going to do. I think it's someone like he got paid the money. Now you have to go out there and play like you're a $40 million a year quarterback. Then the big question is, can he do that? And I think it's really interesting to see. I kind of actually have maybe a little bit of doubts as to like his actual ceiling, which I do expect him to improve, this year, in terms of like yards thrown and stuff like that. But I do question if he's ever going to be an elite quarterback, but that's, I guess, maybe a topic for another day because we're just kind of talking about this year. So yeah, like I said, I think he's going to throw for more yards, throw for more touchdowns. I think he's going to turn the ball over a little bit more since I think, how he threw like, 4 interceptions last year in the regular season and then one if you include the playoffs. So 5 in total. But I think that's a little unsustainable, to be honest. I think 5 is extremely low. You don't see quarterbacks throwing only 5 interceptions very often unless you're like Aaron Rodgers or something. And no offense to Daniel Jones, but he's just not on that level. So I kind of expect it probably to be more like 7 or 8, interceptions next year. Which I mean, I still think that's still good to have. You don't want to have, you don't want to have double-digit, interceptions, something like that. But I think it's something where it's going to be, he's going to turn the ball over a little bit more, but it's still going to be at like a good level to where it's not a huge concern. But yeah, overall, I think Daniel Jones he's going to have a better year this year, and I think I also expect him on the leg, on the ground, to do well on the ground too. Since I still think running him is very good for offense. Just another layer for the defenses to really pay attention to. Yeah, and in terms of running backs, I think obviously it's Saquon's the number one running back. I expect him to have a big year. He's going to want to have a big year because it's a contract year for him again. I think as long as he stays healthy, he's going to absolutely ball out since, he's going to want to get that long-term deal. Whether that's with us or with another team, I really think he's going to have a very strong year, which I'm really excited about since I think our good Saquon means the Giants' offense is good, So yeah, I mean, I expect it to be really interesting too. I think we may try to utilize him in the passing game more. Like I would love to see him kind of maybe us utilize Saquon kind of more in the way of like how a San Francisco kind of utilizes, Christian McCaffrey. I'd love to see maybe Saquon hanging maybe out wide a little bit, or maybe more like just passing plays with him involved, since I think can also improve his longevity as well. But yeah, I mean, I think Saquon's gonna have a really good year. I think he's gonna rush for a lot of yards. I think it may be his best year. Especially if the offensive line really improves. Maybe it's his best year running ever yet. And hopefully I would love that. So, like I said, I do think Saquon's gonna have a really good year. And then the wide receivers. I think the wide receivers we definitely improved there. I think Isaiah Hodgins and Darius Slayton, they're going to come back, and I think we brought in some good people. Wan'Dale Robinson's going to be coming back, off injury. Sterling Shepard as well. Then we also brought in, Jalen Hyatt, which I'm really excited about, and then Paris Campbell. So I think I think we didn't have the best wide receiving core last year, but I think the guys who did play, I think they stepped up. We didn't have the biggest names, but I think they provided value. They weren't elite by any means, but they were passable. I think is a good way to put it. I'd love to see them improve. Isaiah Hodgins, maybe he can have another good year. Maybe show that he's a good third or second option type of wide receiver. I think that'd be really big, and I think people like Paris Campbell, Jalen Hyatt, they're really really good for this offense. I think they're speedy guys. They're deep threat type of guys. They're guys his offense just doesn't have, and especially Jalen Hyatt as well. Like we just don't have someone with that speed. We just haven't had someone like that since Odell, to be honest. But so yeah, I'm really excited to see what they can do. Maybe Daniel will start throwing the ball down the field a little bit more when someone like Jalen Hyatt's out there, or at least he's gonna be someone where the defense is gonna have to put two high safeties out there because. And he put Jalen Hyatt. We saw it, for example, like on the game against the Panthers, his touchdown. He just burned the safety. Like the safety was covering him, he just burned him. You know what I mean? That's just what Jalen Hyatt can do. He's a one-play touchdown guy. If you don't account for him, he's going in the end zone. You know what I mean? So I think it's just really excited to see what this whole wide receiving core does. I expect Wan'Dale to have I think Wan'Dale's going to have a sneaky good year. I think in the slot, I think he showed some things. And I think with maybe the other weapons, we added to this offense, I really think that he can, be open in that slot a lot, kind of be like kind of a safety valve type of guy for Daniel. I think Darius Slayton, I think he's going to be solid again. Paris Campbell, he's going to be solid as well in my opinion. But yeah, I think I am excited to see the wide receiving core. I don't think they're elite unit, even remotely close to elite unit, but I still think they're going to be better than last year, which is a good thing. It's a big improvement from last year. And the tight end group, I think we have two really good tight ends. I mean, Darren Waller, if he's healthy, he's a Pro Bowl level guy. He looked, I think, in that one, series in the preseason against the Panthers, he looked amazing. He's like everything we want him to be. And if he can be that guy week in, week out, I think this offense is going to take a next step. He can be that true number one option for Daniel Jones, which is someone he hasn't had a true number one option since he's been here. And I really think that Darren Waller can be that guy. And I think Daniel Bellinger, I don't think he can get that much better as a tight end number two. I think he's a really, really good blocker. And he also can have he can in the passing game a little bit as well. Kind of go out and, catch some passes. He can be good in the red zone and stuff like that. In Darren Waller, he's more of a pass catching guy, but he's a 1,000-yard guy if you let him. So I think, having their two tight ends, two different skill sets, I think they complement each other really well, and I do expect the Giants to use quite a bit of 12 personnel for those, that's two tight ends on the field at the same time. A lot of those kind of formations just because I think we have the personnel to do that. I think Daniel Bellinger and, Darren Waller let you run that type of offense. And then offensive line, I think it's, not going to be that many changes from last year in terms of the starters. I think it's going to be, the starters are going to be, Andrew Thomas, Ben Bredeson, John Michael Schmitz, Mark Glowinski, and Evan Neal. So other than, John Michael Schmitz, who we drafted, I'm really excited about him, by the way. I think he can be a very solid center for a decade. Outside of, him, the offensive line doesn't change that much, obviously. I think the guard positions were still, a little shaky. And I think the centers, that's set. Andrew Thomas at the left tackle, arguably the best one in the league. We're set there. But I think the really big question mark on this offensive line is Evan Neal. I think you can say he was not very good last year, especially in pass protection. He really struggled. And I think that if we want this offense to really take the next step as well, he's going to have to be a big part of that. I'm not expecting Evan Neal to be the next Andrew Thomas, and where he's going to be an All-Pro by year 3. I don't think that's fair to put those expectations on Evan Neal. But if Evan Neal can just be a solid starter, if he can be someone who can, you can put him out there and not get burned every play. For when we played, that one Monday night game, that one primetime game we played Dallas at home, he let DeMarc, who's the guy, Tank Lawrence, on the Cowboys. DeMarcus Lawrence, that's his name. But yeah, he just let DeMarcus Lawrence just beat him every single play. We can't have that. We can't have Hassan Reddick beating him every single play, which we've had, on the Eagles. So I think he really needs to improve his pass protection. If he's someone who, he can just be an average starter this year, that's going to be a huge, huge plus for the Giants in this offense, and, just everything in general. So I do expect the offensive line to improve, maybe not by some drastic measures, but I do expect improvements throughout the whole front, as a whole, which I do think will be very good for the Giants. And that's kind of my my offense thing. Just kind of overall offense. There's going to be improvements. By no means it's going to be an elite unit this year, but we're going to see big strides to being a much better unit. And then defensively, I think we're going to see improvements as well, especially in the run defense. I think we added some big bodies, and I think it's really going to help this team. So I think we're going to Wink's 3-4 defense. I think the 3 defensive linemen are probably going to be it's probably going to have Dexter Lawrence out there. We're going to have Leonard Williams out there. There's just 2 of the best defensive tackles in the league, especially Dexter Lawrence may be the best nose tackle in football, especially after last year. There was some stat where I think the second, he had 43 pressures or something last year as a nose tackle, and I think the second place guy had 13 or something. Dexter Lawrence is just insane. There's no other nose tackle who can just pressure the quarterback like he can. He's such a valuable part of this defense, and that's why he's got paid. At the end of the day, and I think we have some other really good defensive linemen as well, Leonard Williams, kind of more the inside guys like Leonard Williams. We added A'Shawn Robinson and Nacho Nunez Roches. So I think with all those guys, the big bodies in the middle, we're definitely gonna be better at stopping the run, which was a huge problem for the Giants. I think a really good example of that was the divisional round game against the Eagles. We got absolutely manhandled in the trenches. People like Jason Kelsey, the whole lot. Lane Johnson, absolutely had their way with that defensive front last year. And I think if we want to be contenders, we want to get to that point, we need to stop the run. We were one of the worst run defenses last year, but I do think these additions in the inside defensive line are really going to help this team do better at stopping the run. Are they going to be an elite unit? Probably not, but if they can just be league average, I think that's a really big improvement. That's really going to help this team. And I think edge rushers. I think we have really good edge rushers. We still have Kayvon Thibodeau, Azeez Ojulari. If they stay healthy, I think it's 2 really good pass rushers. Azeez had 8.5 or something his rookie year when he was healthy. If he can be healthy and maybe get to 10 or something like that, that'd be very good. I think Kayvon Thibodeau is someone who can have 10 as well if he's healthy. I think expect him to have a lot of improvements this year. So I'm really excited for this defensive line. I really think they can really get to the quarterback, which would be huge. I'd love to see this team get more sacks, especially with Wink's defense, with how many blitzes he does. I'd love to see them get to the quarterback, and I think they're going to do better this year at that. And then middle linebackers, we got Bobby Okereke, which I really like. I think we really need a solid linebacker. I think he's going to fit the system very well. He's going to really help us stop the run, which is really going to help us. But I think I do have some concerns outside of him. Since outside of him we have Micah McFadden, who's, I don't think he's the best, to be honest with you. No offense to him, but I still think depth is an issue there. I know we did also just trade for Isaiah Simmons, so maybe he can live up to some potential or something. But I think overall, outside of Bobby Okereke, I still think depth is a really big issue in that position. And hopefully, Bobby Okereke does not get injured, because that would be, I think, a really big blow to this team, because then we have to people like, Carter Coughlin, Cam Brown, which, those guys are basically just, special teams guys. So then we don't have Isaiah Simmons, Micah McFadden. So I think that is an issue. Hopefully, just the unit as a whole can prove me wrong. But I still think middle linebacker, it did improve, obviously, because we couldn't get much worse than we were last year. But overall depth is still a big issue in my mind. But I do think Bobby Okereke is going to really help us stopping the run, which is the biggest thing. And then, but then in the cornerbacks and stuff, I'm really happy with what we got. Dory Jackson, Deonte Banks was our first round pick. I think those 2 cornerbacks, those 2 very good cornerbacks right there, that's a great tandem. I really think that they can, lock some guys down, especially later in the year. Maybe, I think Deonte Banks may struggle a little bit in the beginning, because, he's a rookie cornerback. We have a tough schedule at the beginning of the year, which I'm going to get in the schedule later. But, tough schedule at the beginning of the year. I think Deonte Banks may struggle a little bit at the beginning, but I think by the end of the season, he's going to look really, really good. And I think we have the depth. I think the depth there, we improved a little bit, And we still have people like, I like Cordell Flott. I think Trey Hawkins was someone who looked good in the preseason. Guys like that, I'm hoping, those guys can really help this team, Because I do think, I know Wink, he likes to put a lot of defensive backs out in the field at one time. So I think having really good cornerback play can really help this team. So I really do think Deontay Banks is really, really going to help this team. I think he's someone who can really give this team just a second lockdown type of corner. And, hopefully, someone like Adoree Jackson stays healthy as well, since I know he's had, health issues before and, in the past. So, yeah, I think the cornerbacks are really good. Safeties, I think Xavier McKinney look really good. I mean, he's obviously Xavier McKinney. I think he's really good as well. But I am a little concerned about the other safety spot. We did get rid of Julian Love, but I don't think we really replaced him, because I think right now Jason Pinnock is the first, safety, and I don't think he's necessarily the best option. Now, I was expecting us to kind of draft a strong safety, but we didn't really do that. So I am a little concerned about the strong safety spot. I know another safety position value-wise isn't the biggest deal in the world, but I thought we would do more to replace Julian Love, to be honest with you. But it doesn't really seem like we did that. But hopefully, guys like Jason Pinnock, Dane Belton, Bobby McCain, hopefully they can all step up, and just can maybe collectively kind of do what Julian Love did last year. But yeah, I think, like I said, I'm still a little concerned about the one safety spot. But I think, Xavier McKinney's going to have a great year just because he's Xavier McKinney. So, and then special teams-wise, Graham, he's still the kicker. He's still him. I think he's a great kicker. No issues are going to be there. And then punter, we still got Jamie Gillen, which I'm not a fan of. I don't know why we brought him back. I don't think he's good at all. I think he can kick the ball far, but he can't pin anyone to save his life. I really don't understand why we brought him back, to be honest with you. But hopefully he shows some improvements, because that would be really good. But I am still do have concerns about special teams as well, kind of like the punt coverage. We did give up the one touchdown against the Lions. I thought, punt coverage, kickoff coverage, stuff like that, they were a little concerning last year, and I am a little concerned that, we may lose a game or something like that, just because, the special teams is just terrible. So hopefully that does not happen. But, yeah, I think overall, really excited for this roster. I think it's definitely an improvement from last year. We have a lot of, young guys, new faces. Hopefully they can really show what they're made of, really help this team moving forward. Now that's kind of, my depth chart kind of thing. And I just want to kind of go over the schedule a little bit and kind of, say what teams we're playing each week and whatever, and kind of, maybe give who if I think we're going to win or not, all that good stuff. So I'm going to get straight into it. All right, so week 1, it's Sunday Night Football, Dallas at home. Super excited for that. I think it's a great. We always play Dallas, it seems like week 1. Usually it's in Dallas, so it's actually nice to have it in, in New York this time at the Meadowlands. But yeah, I'm really excited to see that team week 1, to be honest with you. I think it's going to be a tough game. Dallas is still, on paper, a very good team. But I think, we're improved, at home week 1. We have a tough schedule to open up the year, so I think we're going to come out fired up. I think we're going to get the dub, but, I think it's going to be start off the year on a good note, 1-0. Great win against Dallas. In week 2, we play Arizona away. To be honest, Arizona, they're terrible. They win like 2 games this year. So I got us winning that one pretty easily. I think we're going to start the year 2-0. And then week 3, away at San Francisco. I know that's a Thursday night game. That's going to be really tough. I think San Francisco is just a better team, to be honest with you. Their roster is just better. I think we're going to end up losing that one, unfortunately. So we go to 2-1. And then week 4, playing Seattle at home. It's a Monday night game, so we have a long week to prepare for that. I think that long week's really going to help us. I know Seattle's a very good team as well. They're kind of an up-and-coming team in the NFC, just like we are. But I think, that long week of extra preparation, and Seattle has to, they have to fly across, the country. I think it's really going to help us. I think we're going to get a close W that game. Then move to 3-1. And then week 5, we're playing away in Miami, which I think is going to be a tough game. I think Miami's really good. I can see this being the game where, we kind of, see, for example, yes, Deontay Banks might struggle a little bit at the beginning of the year. I think this is a game where we'll see it, because he's going to probably either guarding, Tyreek Hill or Jalen Waddle. I think we may see Deontay Banks struggle a little bit. I think Miami's also a really good team. I think it's one of those toss-up games. But since, Miami's at home, I'm going to have to give them the W. We're going to move us to 3-2. In week 6, we're at Buffalo. I think this is kind of similar to San Francisco, where they're just the better team, to be honest with you. It's going to be another tough game. I think we're going to lose that one, move to 3-3. In week 7, I think it's going to be Washington. We're going to be Washington at home. And, I think we are better than Washington. I think we should have swept them last year, if I'm going to be honest with you. And I think we're going to continue that streak. I think, being 3-3 a week, this far into the season, we're going to be really, hyped up to try to, go for a play and make sure we're a good spot for the playoffs. So I think we're going to beat Washington week 7, move to 4-3. Week 8, we have the Jets at home. I think this one's going to be a really tough game. I think maybe some fatigue and stuff's going to get us for this point of the season. I do think the Jets arguably have a better team than us. I think it's just going to be one of those tough games where I don't know. I think it's just, even though it's a home game for the Giants, still going to be a lot of Jets fans there just because, it's still, we share the stadium, obviously. But I don't know. I just have some gut feeling we're going to lose this game, to be honest with you. And we move to 4-4. And then, week 9, we're away at Las Vegas. I don't know what they're doing there. Kind of confused as to what the Raiders are always doing. I don't understand the Jimmy Garoppolo thing at all. I think they're going to struggle a little bit this year, and I think we're going to get the W, move to 5-4. And then, week 10, we have Dallas away. Still think Dallas is a really good team, at least on paper. They're probably going to do their normal thing where they go 12-5, and then lose in the division round of the playoffs. But I still think, we're not that much better than, I think we're pretty comparable to Dallas. So I expect us to kind of, lose this game. That way we kind of split with them this year. Especially since the way I think we're going to lose them away. We would go to 5-5. Week 11 away at Washington. I think it's a really big game. We really are going to need to get a dub here, and I think we will. I think we want to get to a winning record at this point in the season. Try to, push for the playoffs. So, like I said, away at Washington, I got up the dub for us. 6-5. Week 12 against New England. Don't know what they're doing either. I think a lot of questions to what's going on in New England. I don't think they're going to be the best team. I think we're better than them, to be honest with you. That's at home as well. I think we're going to get the dub. Move to 7-5. Week 13 is the bye week, which is a late bye, to be honest with you. I'm kind of, I'm wondering how the Giants do. Because it seems like we do have like a game against, it seems like, we have a tough schedule and stuff like that. I think fatigue can build up. I think after the bye, our schedule is a little bit easier. But overall, I still think it's a late bye. I have some questions. Hopefully, we don't run into too much fatigue because I think those, like I said, those games away at Washington week 11, I think it's going to be a really huge game in terms of playoff implications. So hopefully, fatigue doesn't, build up too much. But at the same time, I think it's going to be a good bye week, especially really push for the playoffs, afterwards. So I think it could be helpful. Same time, maybe not so. But interested to see how things play out. Anyways, week 14, Green Bay at home. I think Jordan Love may actually struggle a little bit this year, to be honest. I think they may not have a very good year in Green Bay. And with that being at home as well, really going to want to push for the playoffs at this point. I got us to get in the dub, moving us to 8-5. In week 15, away at New Orleans. Don't know why they haven't started rebuilding yet, why they didn't get Derek Carr, to be honest with you. But like I've been saying, we really want to push for the playoffs at this point. I think we're just a better team than New Orleans as well. And it's even though it is away, I still think we're going to get the W, move to 9-5. Week 16 at Philly. I just think Philly's a better team, to be honest with you. I think we're going to lose. Move to 9-6. Week 17, Rams at home. I think we're the better team than the Rams. I don't think they're going to necessarily bounce back. I know they had a lot of injuries last year, but I don't think they're going to bounce back all the way to their, Super Bowl winning team type of form. I think Stafford's getting a lot older and stuff. So I do think we're going to get the dub there. Moves to 10-6, especially it being home. And then week 18, we play Philly. And like I've been saying, I think Philly's still the better team. It's at home, which is nice to end the year. But at the same time, I don't think we're good enough to beat Philly yet. We saw in the playoffs. They absolutely destroyed us. I'd love to see us maybe have close games against Philly, but I still don't think we're good enough to beat them yet. To be honest, I think we're going to lose. I think Philly's going to sweep us again, which I don't think is necessarily the worst thing in the world just because of how good their roster is. But at the same time, I don't want to hear their fans, to be honest with you. But I think we lose that that last game, moves to 10-7. Which I think like I said is a little bit of improvement, kind of pretty similar to the wins and losses total. Like I said, that we were going to do. But I do think the on-field product's going to look a lot better, especially the offense. Again, we have a lot tougher schedule this year, so. But I think 10-7, that probably will be good enough, I think, to get us into the playoffs as a wild card. That probably more the 6 to 7 seed again type of thing. But really excited to see the Giants this year. I think the on-field product's going to be a little better, I think, in terms of record and, kind of where we end up in the playoffs. Probably pretty similar. But I think, getting strides to becoming contenders is the biggest thing. And I think we're going to see that in terms of the eye test this year. And I'd love to hear maybe what y'all think about, kind of the depth chart and maybe, the schedule and what exactly you think you're expecting to happen this year for the Giants. I'd love to hear that in the comment section. And also if you guys come across this video and like it, that'd be greatly appreciated. And also kind of give a rundown of what I think is exactly going to happen. What is exactly going to happen for this channel is I'm going to do a preview and review for each game. So I'm going to probably do a preview maybe around like Thursday, Friday, before a game, and then then have a review, either like, if it's like a Sunday 1:00 game, probably have one, later that day, that Sunday evening or something. But if it's like a primetime game, expect those reviews to probably be the next day. And then, I think probably just those throughout the year, and then maybe the other occasional video, during the week if something major happens, something big happens. But that's kind of what to expect from this channel. And anyways, thank y'all for watching. Have a blessed day.